Hey, this is Ben. This is the 37th stanza of The Art of Peace. I felt afraid when I came to my spot. The shadow that enveloped me as I moved into the park felt twinged with anxiety. In that little twinge, like a was just a constant resonance. Now you gotta understand, this is only like 10 seconds of time. So the amount of the distance between entering the shadow and getting to the spot where I have to dismount and proceed on foot, maybe even 5 seconds. Maybe not even, maybe 3 seconds. I mean, it's not that far. Maybe 100 yards? What's a 100-yard dash? Like 10 seconds? I'm going not that fast, but I'm going downhill on a bike. So maybe, 10 seconds. Let's say that, 10 seconds. 8 seconds. I have no idea. Either way, it's not a big amount of time. In that time, the resonance of presented in my experience, and immediately my mind created analysis and projections. My mind immediately registered current events. My mind immediately registered current events. The current events are all dark. The current events are Paris. The current events are Paris, Islam, coordinated attacks, terrorism, ISIS, jihad, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. And so I felt on edge. That feeling, the trigger and the feeling, all presented inside of moments. Full spectrums of outcomes, potentials, threat assessments. I mean, instantaneous. Boom, 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 boom. And I saw that take shape inside my body as I proceeded. I made space between the experience by choosing to see it as part of my experience, not the whole of my experience. The way I chose to see it as part of my experience was by going in, choosing to send my awareness into my feet, my pelvis, my core, my heart space, my throat, top of the head, full breath in. It didn't go, but it became a part of the spectrum, not the entirety of it. And as that happened, I started to come into form, the form of the world around me. There's a haziness this morning. It was gray. It felt gray, hazy. unclear. And I was thinking about violence. Violence being used against the other. And as I'm sitting here, and look to the right, there's this little patch of water that's lit up. And it's lit up through the trees by a light of a house. Now, if I turn my head ever so slightly, it looks like something has flashed or silhouetted in my sight picture. The experience is a flash. The pop-up targets, right? We're trained to shoot a particular way. And these pop-up targets that we were trained on, it's probably different now, but maybe not, I have no idea. The pop-up targets just flash into your sight picture, you take it out and it flashes out. It's pretty methodical. Well, when you're on guard duty of any kind, one thing that you can be aware of is movement, and the way you can be aware of movement is by its creation or flashing in the line of sight of, in flashing in front of a light source. So it becomes silhouetted. And so a quick movement like that in the shadow is a sign of danger. And so I see this. Maybe I combine it with the crunch of a branch, or maybe was that rustle in the leaves a little bit too big? Am I truly safe? And it starts to feel, I feel the pressure, I feel the weight of shadow closing in on me. And one way to look at that is the shadow, right? The other way to look at that is what it's closing in on. What is the shadow closing in on? So there's got to be two parts of this story. It can't just be shadow and nothing. There's the shadow, and then there's your awareness of you. Your awareness in relation to shadow. You have a couple options. You can push back against the shadow, or you can grow beneath it. Growing beneath shadow. Shadow can't exist without light. Light can't exist without shadow. So they complement each other. So as I allow, or as the shadow seems to close in, I can enhance the experience by bowing to it. I can allow the pressure to round my shoulders and round my chin and drop my head down and just totally round my back, completely just collapsing completely. And then from here, I can go into the thought process of war, dead children. That face of that little girl in the... it's very nauseous. It's red. It's got dirt and grime, and her little body is just destroyed. It just looks meat. Genitalia is visible, but it's just meat. There's no... it's meat. The first time I saw death was at a response to an MP convoy got hit by a monster bomb, and we show up and we're holding a perimeter, It's just a mountain of black smoke. We're 1 month in the country, and this mountain of black smoke is, a block and a half away, and I'm staring at it, and I'm like, I want to see this. And then Smoke Martez is like, hey, one of you PSYOPs guys got a camera? And I said, I got one. And he says, let me have it. And I said, well, hey, can I'll do the pictures for you. And he's like, all right. So my team leader allows me to go with Smoke Martez to see what had happened. And as I dig into the memory, I can hear the popping of the fire. It's just constant. And inside the vehicle is fire. Ooh. It's lapping around the bones and the meat of these warriors that had gotten hit. And it's just the fire is just like it's proud, and it's so constant. It's weird. I interact with a lot of fire and as a Boy Scout, and just loving fire as a kid, and it's hard to sustain fire. Sustaining fire requires a lot of pieces coming together, and it's hard to sustain. But that Humvee was just burning and burning and burning and burning and burning, and you just had to let it burn out. No fire trucks that were going to come. We were just holding the perimeter, and there's this dead girl. And the craziest shit is, her body got blown into a shop, and half of her face got blown off during the explosion and ended up in a an alleyway. Ugh, just there's a holding back inside me when I talk about this kind of thing. I can kind of feel that. It's a ground. It's something I can connect to or come back to even when I'm inside of such shadow. And so that piece right there, that piece is always available no matter what, no matter how much shadow there is, that piece is available. So if you can remember this, if you can remember that this piece is always there, then you can catch yourself inside of an overwhelming environment, and starting from that piece, begin to build up from the inside. Build up from the inside. So the first thing you do is you recognize that piece in the form of your physical experience. Maybe all that you can reach out with, you're so pulled in, you're so protected, you're so walled off. Maybe the only thing that you could possibly connect to is just the sensation of what's underneath you. Just that. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just noticing the sensation of what is right underneath your ass. And then from there, just notice everything that's touching, or just notice your pelvis. If you don't know what I mean, just see if you can shift your butt back and forth. Just shift your rear end back and forth. Now, see if you can feel your belly. See if you can feel your sides, your lower back. Just see if you can maybe just feel the fabric of your clothing. Do you feel that? You feel the fabric of your clothing? Now, think about the shoulder blades. As you think about the shoulder blades, think about moving them. When you start to think about moving the shoulder blades, what starts to happen? Jaw, throat. I'm regularly checking my jaw because when I get ready to go, my jaw goes first. Ready. The violence of football was just powerful. The feeling of delivering a blow, delivering a debilitating blow to the enemy was unbelievably sensational. Unbelievable. I wanted more. It was so powerful. Now, in practice and at other times, it's just like, this is tough. But in the game, in the moment, against the other, it was just total annihilation. I want to fucking destroy you. I remember seeing a quarterback one time, and I'm watching his emotion, I'm watching the way he's shifting, I'm watching the way he's moving in space, and this is all happening in like the blink of an instant. It's only like 7 actual minutes of actual action in a football game, so these are moments. Quick, fast moments, but inside those moments it's just unbelievable. So he's, in my mind, he's above me, and I'm kind of looking up towards him, and he's, doing his best to survive inside this changing environment. And I'm looking at him, and my initial analysis of the experience was, I got this guy. I mean, I was like, I fucking got this guy. And I'm coming at him as hard as I possibly can, and I open my arms to just slash and destroy this kid. And as I lunge, knowing that I've got the good kill, he moves, and I was like, duh! The play ended. And it's just like this like, the kind of this Neanderthalian element of my being was like, like, there was a time when I treated my body literally as though it was just a big hunk of meat, and I stupid as shit with no awareness of what I was doing, just like a total Neanderthal. Oh well. That strength, that feeling of power, the feeling of give me more of that, let's do this, destroy. It really helps. It really helps. It helps get things going. Problem is, problem is. The sharp edge can't keep things going. The sharp edge can get something started, but it cannot sustain anything. So now that I've built my awareness out of my hole of fear, protection, and now I'm kind of just here, present. And there's a practice of building something. So you don't just become present because you become present. You become present because now it's time to be the best version of yourself. You become present because, okay, now you're being the fullest version of yourself today. Now you're evolving. Now you're moving into a forward-thinking environment, a forward-being environment. So, one way to build on something and watch it evolve under your very eyes is on your breath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the square game. And so the square game is just an inhale, exhale, inhale, pause at the top, exhale, pause at the bottom. Now, on your next inhale, start to count how long it takes you to inhale. Pause that amount of time at the top. Make that amount of time in the exhale. Make that amount of time the pause at the bottom. One more round. Same numbers. Now, just keep breathing in a square. It's 4 seconds. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Now, keep it going. If you make a mistake, if you're like, oh, where am I? Just come back to the breath. Come back to the practice. Just choose to come back to the practice. There's no right or wrong. It's a practice. You're building on it. This is what the practice is. Bringing your awareness back to what you're doing, back to being present, acknowledging what's pulling on your attention, and then bring it back to the practice. Bring it back to the practice. All right, so I'm gonna read the stanza, and then I'm gonna do my own practice. Let's play around with. One of the ways you can build the square game is you can keep making each side bigger. Part of the practice can include doing other things while you're doing the square breath. "37. Even though our path is completely different from the warrior arts of the past, it is not necessary to abandon totally the old ways. Absorb venerable traditions into this art by clothing them with fresh garments, and build on the classic style to create better forms." Even though our path is completely different from the warrior arts of the past. It is not necessary to abandon totally the old ways. Absorb venerable traditions into this art by clothing them with fresh garments, and build on the classic styles to create better forms. I just want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for the art of peace. I find it to be a fascinating experience to travel down this path of ideas into the experience of these ideas, and I just really, really appreciate the opportunity and the ability to do this. So thank you, O Sensei. King.